220, 2020. I like all of those twos and zeros in one date. No, it always just kind of grabs your attention when something like that happens. It is Tackle Trading's halftime report. We've got Noah, Mark, Tim, and David in the background doing the hosting and the producing. Appreciate everybody. Noah, how you doing today?
I'm fantastic, Tim. Thrilled to
Mark.
be here.
Mark, pleasantries. Did you believe Noah that he was fantastic?
No, see, that's the kind of crap I'm talking about.
Oh, man, you're doubting my sincerity? Well, let me tell
how
you
you
something,
doing, Noah?
Mark.
Let me give you an automated response. I'm doing all
Well, I've
right.
got one. At least I have an automated response other than meh,
Grunt. Yeah, I definitely see that. Well, the market's got some action here today, guys. We got to get right down to business. Red candle for the first time of any kind of notable size now in about 2 weeks, probably on the S&P 500. Let's start with just the broad markets here, Noah. Now, the sell-off, instantly when you see volume like that coming in and price action coming in, you just have to adjust and trade based on the price. The second reaction is to go look at the news headline, try to find out what happened. Nothing happened. Market just selling here. What's your reaction here on the red candle?
Well, one, I was wondering this morning where all the sellers were. Whatever happened to sellers? And, the market started out, it drifted up overnight, but it was just a little red candle this morning. When we were sitting on the lounge this morning, Tim, it broke.
Hold on.
Ooh, we got
my bad. Yeah, it's meta when you hear your own voice and all that kind of stuff.
Not that I don't love the sound of my own voice, mind you.
I love you, brother.
Hey.
Yeah. Right,
but just a little bit of selling. It's taken out some intraday lows. I was watching that down here on a 15-minute time frame, just breaking support, breaking a couple lows. You're seeing a little bit of selling action. It's already starting to slow down. And I've even seen a tail. And this will be one, Tim. I'll be surprised if we don't see a buy the dip crowd coming in soon. It may only be a day or two before it finds some support here at that 20.
Probably the best strategy in the entire market for 10 years has been buy the dip, because every time it dips, it ends up rallying at some point in most conditions. So I get that, but it's one day here. Bring it back to a weekly chart for a second. Mark, when you have 1 day sell off, intraday kind of selling, we're only down 1.7% on the NASDAQ. I know it's notable. I know it's a big candle, but then when you pull back and look at the weekly, you're still above the 9, the 20, the 50, everything's in an uptrend. How do you process one sell off day in the market, Mark?
Well, it goes to reasons for the sell off. I don't want to there's no way of not wanting to. Listen, I've been saying this whole time on the coronavirus, pull out your trade war playbook. Mm-hmm. As long as it is an existing story, you can have days like this. This has been the constant thing. We have a bullish uptrend. We have a Fed-driven market, but we have this lingering news story. And traders are pointing in the last hour and a half to, these iPhone sales. And, just spooking algos, because make no mistake, traders don't run any of this anymore. It's all algorithms. Mm-hmm. But when you have these news stories that are ongoing, like the coronavirus, these days are possible. We learned that from the trade war. It is an absolute this is the way it works type thing. That's why, whenever my voice has been heard for 3 weeks now, and I've heard this out of the other coaches as well, don't go crazy with your positions. These days can pop up out of nowhere, and then the next day it can just be a complete rally. But do be aware that with the coronavirus, and there is real impact on bottom lines. The Apple warning the other day gave us height. Go pull up Apple's chart. You're going to see something very, very similar to what's going on,
Yeah, red candle and down
quite as bad,
but still up there in a consolidation. Here's the thing, guys. Would it surprise you at all if on Monday and Tuesday we're talking about Apple breaking out to new highs?
Well, and that's the maddening thing about trade war type environments, mm-hmm. is that you have these narrative, bullish, strong, long-lasting narratives, but then you have these things that can spook. Apple is down about the same percentage point as the market. The chart looks different, but the price action today, about 1.4%. What's the S&P 500 doing?
S&P down 1.05, Dow down 1%, NASDAQ down 1.8%. So the area of the market that was strongest, the NASDAQ is taking it the most in terms of a red candle, but that makes sense. It also had the biggest run up, Noah. So this is not unnormal market behavior. In fact, I was waiting for it as well. No, it's where's the pullback? I mean, are we going to run every day? But the NASDAQ down the most here, Noah. Give me a read on that one.
Well, again, yeah, had a nice steady grind. It was of all the indexes, it was the strongest. And so see a little bit of a bearish engulfing candle there. Not surprising. This is what I would expect under normal market conditions after a run up. I'd expect a couple days pullback, just out of like normal profit taking. But this market has been so, consistently just grinding up. We're surprised anytime we see a red candle. And again, I'm old enough to remember when this market did this all the time.
Yeah.
So, this is just one day down. I think it'll end up just settling down. It could lead to panic, but
yeah,
it's just a day so far.
I think it's just another trading day. It's a good lesson, Mark. I think you nailed it right on the head.
And it's unlikely to lead to panic. If panic was going to occur,
never underestimate the public's ability to panic.
Well, true enough. But like these type of days, I mean, we saw it in the trade. But that is the playbook that you have to run off. Being aware that as long as the trade war was out there, you could have a day like this.
If a day like this is causing you major anxiety or losses in your account, you're over leveraged. Let's call it like it is. This should be just another day in your account if you're a veteran and trained trader, Mark, right?
I mean, look at the chart for going on 1, 2, 3, 4 plus months. I mean, that's been a pretty relentless,
beautiful
short-term uptrend.
It's a juggernaut. I mean, we're talking since October, since that the Fed started flooding the market with money, and they did through their repo actions, all that kind of stuff. I did read the Fed minute.
And there goes Tim. He's frozen.
And frozen in time.
Yeah, and NASDAQ has gone from 8,000 to 9,700. It's a huge rally. Let's not overthink it. That's all I'm saying. I mean, if it leads to more, then we can process that with more. That's why we call it a daily routine where you engage the market and you adjust your thinking day by day by day by day. I mean, I'm still kind of like a +1, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big differences is that, like, their market, even in relentless trends, doesn't go up every day. One of the things, I guess, to adjust with the coronavirus as the thing is that during the run up in October, November, December, those sell-off days were minor. They were orderly. The sell-off days with the coronavirus have been violent. I mean, and that is the big difference. Like, you'd have a sell-off day during the uptrend in October, November, December, January, and they were just little bitty pullbacks or little bitty hesitations. It's just the magnitude when there are news stories that can drive the market on a day just tend to be bigger. Tend to be bigger.
And I love what you just drew there, Noah. Those little pullback consolidations, they're very, very consistent across like 4 months of price action here. And this current one is bringing us back into the Mark's girlfriend, the 9 EMA. Although I got to tell the 9 EMA a little truth there. Mark might have a few other girlfriends from what I understand. The 20 SMA also in an uptrend, which is one of Mark's girlfriends, I believe. But Mark, this is just a beautiful uptrend, a hesitation up at the top, right?
I am never going to try to be the smartest person in the room and try to fight a trend, because trends are perhaps the most powerful thing in the entire world of trading and investing. There's a reason we say trade with the trend is your friend, don't fight the trend. I mean, these sayings stick because trends are insanely powerful, and trying to predict when they're going to go in, I mean, you're just going to look stupid time and time and time again. It's just be aware that when you have the news stories, there's going to be increased volatility out of nowhere.
Yep.
Out of nowhere.
Here, so give me the VIX, Noah, if you will, real quick. We can always look at the VIX when Matt is on the road. It makes me happy.
It's broken.
And by the way, I understand Matt's rant. I actually can see some of the points he has, but it is still a funny soapbox rant that he has. VIX is only at 16.71. It's up on a green candle today, guys, but we're in the middle of the yearly range on the VIX. So one red candle, we don't have panic yet. We don't have massive money flooding into the put market, anything like that. In fact, Noah, for a credit trader like myself, I need some red candles to create volatility for option pricing so I can sell something that's worth anything. It's hard. You know what I mean? It's hard finding the credits when the VIX is down at 12. So I don't mind the red candle here. I kind of like it personally. No, I use the VIX at all still.
I do. I usually have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like, and what I'm after is the number. Like if I see the VIX above 16, I'm like, okay, there's a little meat on the bone on those premiums. If it gets out above 20, 24, you start to think, oh, that's pretty high VIX. I expect a market reversal. But yeah, I mean, I use it but I only really look at it when the market takes a sell off. Otherwise, I don't really look at it that often.
Yep. Let's move on to the dollar index if we can. And by the way, out there, Team Tackle, if you're watching our show right now, welcome as always. Great to have you guys. We love coming in here every day and just popping in, talking markets on our, daily show. We do it at 12:30 Eastern every day. If you've not subscribed to our channel yet, the subscribe button and the bell, it's always good to click that bell so you get a little alert whenever we do go live. Come and join us daily and see what tackle trading is all about. The dollar is king dollar right now. This is one of the most impressive rallies out of the dollar in a very, very long time. Many things citing here, Mark. Number one, they're actually starting to call the Fed kind of more like a Goldilocks position. I don't agree with that. I read the Fed minutes. Basically, what I took from the statements and from the meeting is this. If there's weakness in the economy, they'll flood more money into the market. And if there's not, they'll stay pat. We know what the Fed will do. They've shown us their hand and they've shown us their true colors for 12 years now. The dollar's rallying more on weakness internationally. The Australian dollar getting taken it on the chin. That's sensitive to what's happening in China. A lot of trade goes through that currency, and more monetary easing out of the People's Bank of China. I can read the headlines from China all day long, Mark, that things are going to be contained and they feel comfortable with the outbreak and they feel like things are going to come into, but then show me what you're actually doing with the money. They wouldn't be printing this much money if they weren't concerned about coronavirus, So dollar here, very strong. Mark usually gets to take a 2-minute nap, but Mark, it allowed me to kind of talk economics. Do you see anything from the Fed right now changing at all based on their recent posture?
Dude, I am flirting with women on dating apps while you're doing your dollar stuff.
Oh, it's so disinterests you. I know.
It's cute that you think they're all women. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it doesn't matter if they are or aren't, as long as the perception of, I don't care about reality,
You just like the attention, right?
Exactly.
So, there you go.
I wish there was a ticker symbol called fish that we would do a cross pair called the catfish trade. We would find out.
Go check out Match.com. See if it is going up while you talk about the dollar.
Down, actually. Nobody else
down.
Is right now. There you go. There you go. All right. Economic. There's not much there. By the way, the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index was really strong, but those data points on a month-by-month basis are so inconsistent. Move on to crude oil. The dollar's really bullish right now. Crude oil is a tougher read. This is a bear retracement still, in my opinion. It's way too early to be buying, in my opinion. But Mark, somebody's buying down here. Somebody's taking these aggressive plays to the upside. Is that short covering, profit taking, or those actual institutions?
No, listen, if you weren't hyper concerned about the coronavirus, let's say you took out the, like my general narrative on crude oil is, I'm just gonna be patient, wait this out, all of that. But if you took out the ultra cautious approach, you saw a nice technical pattern. You saw like whenever I teach boomerang, whenever I teach reversals, like if this was just normal sell-off, I would have been all over this, because you had the classic, hey, take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trading days, form a bottom, break out of short-term range, clear the moving averages like it cleared the 20-day moving average. This is a classic reversal pattern, that like just from a pure technical point, I can see lots and lots and lots of traders trading. I definitely can see a lot of computer algos trading. So you had all of the makings of this really, really beautiful technical pattern. So it's not surprising me that from a short-term trading point, you've seen, a nice trading signal. Now, I'm still not touching it. If I was day trading, that's one thing. But like, once again, like I'm going to be the stubborn old man on this coronavirus thing. I just am. I'm just going to be stubborn.
There's too many times where crude oil is just an easier play than right now, Mark. The complexity of the COVID-19 outbreak, which I'm trying to call it COVID-19 now, by the way, guys. If the World Health Organization says it's not coronavirus, it's COVID-19, shouldn't we get on board? Should we change the name?
You know, trying to switch name brands after you really brand
I know.
something.
Okay, so what is like? Listen, like because there are more than one coronavirus.
That's right.
Like,
That's why it's COVID-19 is what they call it.
COVID-19. All right, I'm going to
COVID-19.
try to do my best. COVID-19.
Yeah. So this COVID-19 outbreak,
Which
I
sounds
still
like
think
the next boy band group, you know.
COVID-19. I don't know.
COVID-19.
There you go. I still think we're underpricing risk. Crude oil is the #1 commodity in the world. It will disrupt supply chains. I saw some projections. Everything is so early, Mark. I mean, these economists are trying to pontificate and project out how it's going to disrupt like travel and trade and whatnot, month, 2 month, 3 months, 6 months down the line. It might affect global GDP by a couple of basis points. I'm not talking full percentage points, but like instead of 1%, it would be 0.7%. But even 0.1% on the entire globe's GDP is a very, very big deal. And by the way, those were the most positive projections. I'm neutral on crude oil. All of that, I'm neutral on crude oil because of the perceived risk. Noah, do you see any opportunity to buy here? Am I missing it?
Well,
are we missing it?
You know, my seasonal geek comes out. We talked about this the other day, and we actually, in the lounge this morning, I went back and we looked at the last 20 years, and 15 out of the last 20 years, you get a pop between about January, February through May. And, you know, a couple of years out of that, you don't. So, I mean, it's more often than not, you get a springtime run up on oil. And I always look for it. And a W kind of pattern like this really might sucker me into it. I would watch for a retest here because you're thinking bear retracement. I think for me, it would, it comes up into that old support resistance zone at 55. If it drops back down into the 52 zone, and I see a higher low come in, I'll probably consider taking a bullish shot at it. But in the meantime, I'm kind of with you, Tim. I think that there's the Mark's reasoning is right, that the COVID-19, I did it. See, COVID-19 is going to be a disruptor, and you're going to have some inventory problems because you will see an overall, general slowdown in economics. And so the demand may not be there that normally drives a seasonal run.
Yeah. Go to a weekly chart though. I'm going to counterpoint all of my own thinking. On the weekly chart, it just looks like it's at support. But
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And again, we went and sat and looked at the data over the last 20 years and just kind of pointed out when it ran up in the springtime and when it didn't. And it was, 15 some odd years out of 20 that you get that bullish run. So that's always something I look to in the spring. And this spring, I'm a little skeptical on it, particularly on not on so much on oil itself, but on, the actual oil and gas producers like the Exxon Mobil's and the refiners and things. They're going to struggle with the cheaper price of oil to generate revenue they want. So I would definitely consider the oil more so than the individual stocks.
Yeah. More on crude oil over time. By the way, Mark does a really good commodity report on the weekends. If you're a pro member at Tackle Trading, get a deep dive on crude oil and gold and the rest of the commodity space each weekend on Saturdays. Mark even does a live show on that, which is a mastermind group that we have put together. Great job on that, Mark. Gold next, though. I mean, an easier chart to read than crude oil is gold. Gold is breaking out.
Tim,
bullish.
The other day, we were saying a close above that 1600 zone would have been a good buy scenario. Yep, there you go. We did it.
There it is. 1621 right now. One of probably the simplest products to read if you're patient, Mark. If you're an impatient day trader or swing trader on gold, it's probably infuriating to try to trade gold. But if you're a position trader and you're using gold as that natural balance or hedge in your portfolio, and you just pick up some of the metal either through the ETF or the futures market at key levels, it's an easy chart the last couple of years, in my opinion, Mark. It's neutral when it's neutral, and over time it eventually has been going up because of this soft easing at the Fed. Mark, where's your target up here? I mean, would you even have one? I know you don't add commodities up at these levels. Just based on the chart, though, I mean, where do you think gold can get to up here?
It's how do you play a breakout when there's no resistance? I mean, this is a very, very long conversation. Because there's not a easy answer. But like when you have previous resistance levels, it's easy to speculate and formulate a potential target. When you don't, you have to, all right, what are your rules for playing a breakout when we don't have anything, when we got nothing but clear air? Some individuals will target a certain amount of the ATRs, like target 1 or 2 or 3, even depending on their type of things, like a certain amount of that. Other individuals will use different systems and different techniques to profit take. So there isn't a cookie cutter, one size fits all. Normally what I do is I will use short-term like hourly moving averages that might act as support and try to capture as much of that momentum as possible. So, sometimes I'll use that 9 hourly or that 20 hourly, try to get that short-term boost as much as possible, and then have a clear gauge that allows me to take, a maximum amount of profits in a short time window.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like, how do you play breakout? I mean, it literally is its own class.
Yeah. Yeah. And Noah, I have my own personal techniques. I know what Mark's talking about 100%, pay ranges, ATR, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Tim's personal techniques is the moon.
That's right. For gold, it's the moon. I'm literally, that's exactly where I was going, Mark.
I know
I don't know if I need a target.
My little brother,
Can't you have an open-ended target on gold and just say, I'm going to trail stop, or even keep protection down underneath?
Or just own it and not worry about it. Because
that's the thing.
Gold is groaning, right?
Trail stops can be problematic on commodities. I mean, even if you look at the really good run up that gold had in May, June, and July, like how effective would have trail stops been in that? Like
I'm talking like 100 points down, all the way at like 15.
So broad trail stops, fair enough.
Yeah.
No.
Let it be bullish. As long as it's bullish, just stay with the trend. I don't know. I love the commodity. Obviously.
I mean, the plain and simple fact is gold has been a wonderful addition to tackle trading traders' portfolios. Those that have added it. I mean, and if you haven't added it, I mean, you've literally ignored everything we've said for 14 months on this.
Correct. That's right.
That's right. So
Bitcoin down a little bit here today. Not much. It's on a pullback though. I mean, if you ever wanted a little bull retracement here.
How long are you going to talk? I need to know if I can flirt.
10 seconds. 10.
Right.
Nothing on Bitcoin. Little retracement back into the MAs. Just interesting.
And Mark just swiped right.
And he sure did. He just
swiped left on Bitcoin.
There's no doubt. Let's get into corporate news here, guys. I got a lot of stocks I want to talk about. Morgan Stanley is buying E-Trade more financial mergers. Morgan Stanley is more of an investment firm, obviously a big bank, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, these types. So you're talking about one of the biggest buyouts, 13 billion, of a brokerage firm. They got a lot of clients, a lot of capital under management and all that kind of stuff. E-Trade gaps up on the news like it always does. Mark, is this obviously a trend now in this industry, right? Where these big companies are trying to merge?
No, I mean, it's funny. And sometimes you'll get little trends within industries, like specific industry groups where there's a lot of merger and acquisition chatter and activity. Obviously anybody holding E-Trade today is very happy about this, because who wouldn't be on a nice 18% clip or whatever it is. So, but you do, I mean, you get, it just seems like this stuff runs in cycles sometimes.
Yeah, it feels like it's cycling in right now for these financial institutions and brokers. And I get it. I mean, if you're JP Morgan, or if you're Morgan Stanley, or if you're a Goldman Sachs, acquiring more capital under management, it does make sense to me. Now, what's interesting here on Morgan Stanley, MS, it didn't really take much of a hit on this. Usually when you pay $13 billion premium for an E-Trade, that's not, you're overpaying when you do an acquisition like this. The stock will generally come down more than this, but we're only down 3%. Pretty good looking long-term trends. It kind of messes up the technical pattern here, Noah. Is there anything to play here with Morgan Stanley, or do you play it like I do? Whenever you see an acquisition or a merger, you kind of leave those companies alone until it's all the way done.
Yeah, I kind of leave it alone. Like there's nothing to see on the E-Trade because they're the one being bought. Morgan Stanley probably will stabilize around that 50-period moving average, but that's a big acquisition. How much was it again? 13
billion in stock, yeah.
And what were they paying? $58 a share or something like that for E-Trade?
Wherever it gapped to, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think they were somewhere around like $58.70 some odd cents is what I think I saw the headline. But yeah, I usually won't touch the company that's being acquired just because it gaps to the price they name for it, and then it just hangs out there. And nothing to beat. You had to have been in on it before to make any money. But Morgan Stanley, I don't see it hitting it too hard. I mean, that's a big acquisition, but they're also Morgan Stanley. They're huge. So
Cody Mackey's favorite company, LB Brands, is spinning out Victoria's Secret here. Now, Victoria's Secret's only one part of LB. LB has got a lot of different companies here, but they are actually selling it for only about $1 billion. I actually thought that brand probably would have been worth a little bit more money. But if you think about like the Gap and Foot Locker and Urban Outfitters and all of these specialty niche retail stores, Mark, they've all been under pressure. Private firm is buying Victoria's Secret out. I mean, would you think that's a good move in 2020, buying a niche, I don't care what it is, a retail shop?
Listen, you're talking clothing, and I wear the same 4 hoodies every day of my life. So it's not exactly an area of expertise I have. So listen, you can't be experts about everything.
Well, I can be an expert about this. The
No.
retail nation's still struggling unless you're the Apple store or you're something else in the mall. Every other retailer is struggling.
I mean, that's what I love about analysts on like MSNBC or CNBC or whatever, when they're, it's like they're an expert and have an opinion on everything. I'm like, well, what do you think about, and it's like, well, shut up. Like, come on. Like you're giving like tidbit, like bite size, So
you're not an expert on bra sales moving forward into the next decade?
I am not.
What you're telling me?
Like I could care. I mean, seriously, like I'll shop at thrift stores.
I'll tell you what I am an expert at, which is trading. And I just see all these types of companies struggling. Maybe they can make Victoria's.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly news at 11 that that retail is really, really having a hard time. I mean, that's been going a while now. So
they had the brand for 50 years. It's now going private. Actually, the CEO's in his 80s, and I think he's going to retire soon as well. LB is in the upswing right now. I'm not interested. I personally just would stay away from it. Google and Oracle have a very, very important Supreme Court case going on right now, guys, where Google is being sued by Oracle, and Supreme Court's hearing the suit, whether or not Google stole some intellectual property, which was code in the API they had in some software. I can't remember what it was. It was in the news, I believe. Dave, if you can find that, let me know what actual code that was. One of Oracle's core products, Google took it, Mark, used it as part of their own, and they didn't actually pay Oracle for it. Now, Google's saying fair use, that it's out in the public, that it's just public code. Oracle's saying you're one of the biggest companies in the world, you should have paid up. Now, the Supreme Court's hearing this. I think it will be very important. Intellectual property has value. So I don't know if I have an opinion on where the court should side. I haven't heard the details of the case. When you hear a court case, Mark, does that pose risk for a Google trade here? Would you stay away from Google now if you know there's something like this going on? Or do you think maybe the market's already priced it in?
I do one of two things. On news, and it takes a little bit of qualitative opinion on it. Either sometimes when I look at news, I'll be like, is this just the dumbest thing I've ever seen? And the algos are just driving it down for whatever reason. If that's the case, then I'm looking to, play any bullish sign that continues with the trend. I mean, you see this news, every once in a while. Like I remember a couple years ago when I was doing the lounge, someone says, why is eBay down? And we looked at eBay, and it was down because of news that UPS was raising their shipping rates like, a penny or something like that. And I'm just like, all right, everyone, let's take a poll. Does anyone think someone is not going to ship their classic G.I. Joe action figure via eBay because UPS raised their, is this going to affect, and everyone's like,
well, I mean, that really depends on which G.I. Joe classic action figure we're talking about. How collectible is it? Is it still in the box? Are we talking mint condition? I mean, yes.
You're the biggest geek at tackle trading at this particular moment.
I doubt
All right.
it.
No, that's probably not true. I don't happen to have any action figures.
I do miss my Star Wars from a kid. Oh, I miss those. But no, I mean, is the news nonsensical? Is this a company I was already looking to get, and I'm getting nonsensical news that is going to provide a nice pullback opportunity to get into a good trade? Then that stock goes really high on my watch list. If it is a news story that I am confused about, that I'm like, ooh, I just don't have enough knowledge to make a proper judgment call, then I'll be like, oh, I'm going to let this play out because I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other quality things I can trade. And so, once again, there's nothing wrong with not knowing, being patient, like finding something else. And I don't know enough about this.
Well, the thing about it is with many of the news stories like that, I'm with you 100%. Court cases are a funky one though, because if it's a Supreme Court case, Mark, whatever the ruling is, this one's done. Sometimes when there are other court cases, you're like, okay, yeah, that's going to get appealed and all that kind of stuff. Like the Uber case in California recently over whether or not they had to pay contractors as employees and pay their health benefits. It was a district court, and now they instantly went into appeal. And so nothing actually happens from it. I don't know. And I'm with you. So I don't know. And if I don't know, sometimes I'll actually lean on the side of caution, actually most of the time, and just say, I'll find a different trade. Would I fault somebody for buying Google up here on a breakout or momentum or the right pullback pivot trigger? Not at all. It has been a juggernaut. Going to be an interesting one to watch, though, because this whole conversation about fair use in tech, I know this fight has been going on for like a long time. This is not a new case. It's now finally on the Supreme Court's desk. Let's move on to MGM here, Noah. If you stayed at an MGM resort, it is very possible that your data is now online with your phone number, your address, and all of those kind of things. No credit card information was stolen, according to MGM, but they had 10,000 guest accounts and information stolen from them. Another example why cybersecurity is probably a good play for the next 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I have not stayed in an MGM. Well, maybe I have. No, I don't know. My dad is probably out there anyway, because it's been breached a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Security is huge. That's a huge play.
Yeah. Yeah, not affecting the stock at all, which I was surprised by. I thought maybe you would see a move in the stock. Sometimes we have, but the market does not seem to care about this kind of storyline, Mark. I don't know why, but market is not moving at all.
MGM is one of those boring companies, and I use the term boring affectionately. I love boring companies that when it goes through cycle lows like it did about a year ago, 8-9 months ago, I really get a lot more interested in. Once you start cycling up to range highs, it becomes, whatever's happening is less interested in. But, casinos, the one nice thing about casinos and why I advocate that, whether you're a long-term investor or short-term trader that likes to bottom feed like me, casinos will go through cycles where they're really bullish and then they're really bearish. And on those bearish downswings, well, I'm a long-term believer that casinos will be here thriving till the day I die, and so like during those cycle downswings when casinos aren't hot, they become a lot more attractive for long-term portfolios.
I'm going to do just a random question for our audience out there. Hopefully some of you guys are going to have some fun with this one. What's your favorite casino game? Thinking about the MGM, we were down in Vegas over the fall, Noah, and I didn't play not a single penny.
Which one we're good at, or which is our favorite?
What's your favorite one?
Yeah,
Out there, Team Tackle, what's your favorite casino game? Do you like the nickel slots? Do you avoid it at all? Do you never play, never walk into them? Do you love craps? Do you like, whatever it is? Noah, what's your favorite casino game?
Well, I like to just sit at the blackjack table because at least that way I feel like there's a measure of skill involved, but there's really not unless you're sitting at single deck blackjack, which is hard to find. So other than that, I enjoy watching craps, but I don't play it.
Mm-hmm. Mark, I know your answer. You love
if
dice.
I can't die with my children and, the 3 or 4 women I'm dating at the time surrounded by my side, I want to die at a craps table.
Yeah.
Like I love craps. Like with
on the podcast, let's have one at some point in the next month or so. Maybe we can do a little game about casino games on a podcast, because it will give me the opportunity to tell the story about how I should have made like 20 grand playing dice the first time I accidentally
Let me give you the 30-second version.
Okay.
It's 3 a.m. I tap on my brother's shoulder. We're in a casino, and he has these
15
little
years
piles,
ago, by the way.
It was a long time ago. These these little reasonable sized chips, and I was like, oh, having a good run. Yeah, and I look at the craps, the craps guy, and he just shakes his head, and I'm like, what? I was like, how long has he been rolling? And the guy's like, he's been rolling for 50 minutes.
I rolled for almost an hour without
almost an hour on a single roll.
Yep.
Tim he should be a millionaire retired right now instead of making the 400 or 500. And all Tim was doing is betting $5 at a time.
Yeah, I didn't know.
And he rolled for almost an hour.
It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I was waiting for Mark. Used to be a professional poker player. So I was waiting for Mark, and we were going to wrap up and then go to bed. It's like 15 years ago. And I didn't know anything about how to play. And I just sat and rolled dice and kept making $5 at a time, Noah. I felt good about it.
He just had roll after roll. Here, make 5 more bucks. And if you know anything about craps, just progress. I mean, listen, I hate Tim right now. Just thinking about that.
Real gamblers are like, oh, what is he doing? Yeah, I know. I get it. I still like dice now to this day, though, because then I learned how to play, and it's actually kind of a fun social game. The older I get, though, I don't love casinos, but I would always give me a dice game, Mark. I'll play for a couple hours. It's so much fun. Moving on to a pizza company, Domino's Pizza, blasted out, took out their top levels here. Just a crazy earnings report. Bottom line and top line numbers projected forward that they're very strong. $372 stock that just broke out of a long-term resistance. I mean, this is an island gap out here. I don't even know how you play this, Noah.
Speaking of dice, holy craps, that is 100-point gap.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow, not quite, but geez, that really, really popped. I skipped the whistle and went straight to like expletives. Holy cow. That's impressive. What kind of earnings report is this?
Well, they just took it out. I mean, obviously it's going to take some time. I'm going to keep Domino's Pizza on a watch list. It had great fundamentals. Kick back to a weekly chart. Mark's going to like what he sees here on the weekly. Just a juggernaut.
Wow.
I mean, that wasn't amazing. We draw a resistance level there. Mm-hmm. I mean, here's one of the problems that sometimes, I mean, it would have been beautiful if this was a clean break, because that's a really, 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 really nice resistance level, easy to identify at a nice whole number of 300. But hey, guess what? There'll be something else. I mean, look at the trend of that, of Domino's too. I mean, look at how it responds to breakout levels. Not a bad technical trading stock over the last time. Let's go back to the last time. I want to highlight though, late 15, late 16, because I think there's a learning teaching opportunity here. All right. So highlight all of 2015 and into 2016. Okay, so the last time, because one of the things whenever I'm analyzing a stock is that I want to know, what is this stock's behavior? How does it, what is its personality? And we had a similar situation to this occur, at the start of 2016, where you had a very nice resistance level, trade sideways, that huge run up on earnings, and look how it traded sideways, came back, filled the gap, and then took off. So I can tell you immediately, this is how, in an ideal world, I want to play Domino's Pizza. May or may not happen, but I always look for ideal situations. Be greedy. So, if you put Domino's on a watch list and then maybe 2 months from now, you're like, oh my goodness, it traded sideways, filled the gap, and now we're getting those upward bullish signals. And then look what happened from there. So it's done it before, Battlestar Galactica style. Hey, it could do it again. So
I would totally re-binge that show. I was thinking about it the other day. One of the greatest. Talk about nerd culture, Noah. Battlestar Galactica might be the best sci-fi show of all time.
It was a good one. It was
awesome. Yeah, it's done it before.
Now you're talking like the original, like when we were kids?
No, not 1970s. No, not I'm talking about the one that was about 10 years ago. Sci-Fi Network, incredible.
I don't think I've ever watched that.
No, and I really
do. I need to.
We just gave you a little gift. We just gave you a little
gift. Like, even if you don't like sci-fi, if you even like sci-fi moderately, you'll absolutely love it. Even if you don't like sci-fi, it's just really good.
I'd have to look up where it's streaming. I have no idea, but that is an incredible show. Obviously here, we would love some kind of price action on Domino's. Keep it on a watch list, guys. This is the kind of thing where with like an earnings gap like this, Mark, I love the way you painted that, because it might not be a trade within a week or 2 weeks. It might be a month or 2 months, quite frankly. But that we just broke out of a 3-year resistance level on strong earnings. Might be a good, sign for things to come throughout the year on price action when the prices are ready. Keep moving on here. Newmont Mining, which is a very popular company in terms of trading. If you're a gold mining bug, breaking out on their earnings as well, showing me a lot of strength. Zillow had a strong earnings report. We're going to flash through a couple. I'll slow you down when I want you to. Zillow, nice earnings report. Canopy Growth, the pot stock, finally actually went up on earnings. That has not been the trend here recently. CGC is that one there, Noah, and it still didn't react, more of a compression pattern. And some bears here today, Viacom. Oh, Viacom, these media companies, Mark, that are not named Netflix, that are not named, Disney, VIAC here.
BIC or B? C? Okay.
Yep. They've not done great. That's an ugly chart on a gap down below earnings, and now missing bear retracement into the earnings. Now we're selling. What does Viacom actually own? Do they own HBO? CBS?
Oh, I don't
I
know
think
what
they own
their detail
CBS.
No, it's CBS's own ticker symbol, isn't it?
I don't think so. I think they merged back. That's a good. Now I don't know
No,
the
they
answer.
are.
To
They
that.
did merge.
MTV. When's the last time you watched MTV?
Viacom CBS. There you go.
Yeah. Nickelodeon, Comedy Central, VH1, CMT. So basically cable channels, and not good.
I mean, there's some decent brand names there. Like, it's one of those things, like, obviously not today, because this stock's been on a free fall and we don't catch falling knives, but there's enough brand names there that if you got to, 2, 3, 4, 5 months now, there might be something interesting. Obviously not even close to today. It's setting up for a bearish run. I doubt there's any support levels, going back multi-years that is going to prop it up here. But
yeah,
those are some decent brand names.
Yeah, decent brand names. Maybe it can find its way down here. It's now offering a dividend down here in the bottom, which is interesting.
I mean, it could also, it gets cheap enough. I mean, it has enough brand names and enough content. I mean, think about streaming services these days. Like, this is how you have to think like an investor and a trader. Analyze the good and bad. Short term, you're like, oh yeah, that's going to be bearish situations. But you think about streaming services these days that are looking to acquire content.
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of content there available for a streaming service. You get cheap enough, you start to become a juicy acquisition target.
Yeah, and even like a company like Nickelodeon, they have decades of content. One of my favorite
Comedy
Nickelodeon is
Central.
great. Comedy Central. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'll try to wrap my head around. Obviously, it's bearish in the short term. We got to let that thing play itself out. Let's move on. A couple other ones. Deere earnings tomorrow. Just be aware of it if you're trading the Dow or Deere. By the way, the Dow and the markets are kind of trying to backfill here. But I've got some setups here, guys. I want to promote for a second. The Tackle 25 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 viable setups here today across its 4 watch list. I'm going to give you one of them. Take a look at the Poor Boy Cover Call Canada Tractor Supply, TSCO here, Noah. I'm a watch list trader. I use these watch lists. If that thing broke above 100, Mark, talk about you haven't missed it. It's not triggered yet. It's not a trade today, but I was looking for something to set up. I was looking for something that I might want to trade. Can I talk you into a trade above 100 here from just a conceptual level?
If you clear, what moving average is that? The
200,
I'll give you one chance at guessing.
200.
Yes.
Nice horizontal resistance level. Lots of room to the upside for a short-term trade. Give me a close above that 200 and confirmation the next day, and I'll probably make that trade in real life. That's really, really pretty.
And in the chat right now, if you're watching my show, one thing I like to do when I'm teaching is have you guys participate. Just type in watch list trading. Watch list trading, if you're a veteran trader, one of the best things you can do is use the reports, use the Tackle 25, use this kind of stuff, Noah, because nobody wants to sit and scan for 6 hours every day. You want to have some of that work done for you. We call it bird dogging. Here's another one on the Tackle 25. Noah, look at Best Buy. BBY, a Tackle 25 candidate for 2020. Just a no, I didn't see
that's
it.
giving me I didn't whistle yet because it hasn't broken, but
Earnings, dude. Earnings. I didn't even see it when I pulled it. Yeah, but see that red telephone down there? That's an instant disqualification. Also calls for a little teasing if we're in our scouting report meeting and somebody submits an earnings pick, but say la vie. CarMax, which is also on the options report today, KMX. Look at this break, boys.
It's pretty. We like it. We were talking about this in the lounge this morning on the breakout. Clean break. I like it. Love it. Great setup.
I mean, that was an option report play. If you want full analysis on CarMax, go and check out the options report from the previous weekend. And Mark, one thing I always do is I grab the full list. I go put it in my account, use it as a watch just through the week. And if there's 10 picks on the option report on any given week, I might make 2 trades off of it. I don't think I've ever traded every single one of them because the job of a trader is to use the discretion and apply their rules and wait for the timing. But watchlist trading is very, very valuable valuable. And one more actually on the bear side of it, because we're in a market that's selling a little bit here today. Take a look at Take Two, TTWO.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking for that to confirm. And heck, even one more. Look at PPG. It was on the option report as well from this
I'll
weekend.
tell you what, Tim, I'm learning more and more that my Pavlovian response to charts is automatic and it's not conscious. It's literally just like, I can't help it. It just happens.
The sound you're making though is disturbing me.
Yeah,
So
baby.
I'm trying not to acknowledge it.
So Noah, are you telling me on a first date I shouldn't make that sound when I first meet the
Oh,
person?
probably not. Yeah, usually.
And no, I'll even give you one more. Go look at UAA. Look at that low base breaking down.
Listen, I'm going to judge all my trades off the sounds Noah makes from now on.
I do.
I didn't get the same like feeling.
That
like
wasn't like a
previous two.
That one made me think. That was like a
Yeah, those previous two, there was just this like, oh, I got to do that. That one, I'm like, no, I don't trust it. I don't trust it. Like,
well, I haven't done my full analysis. Maybe let me back it out to the weekly chart.
No, I don't want your analysis.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Look at that.
David, put Noah on mute. I need a mute button from the host here. Oh, no, we have some fun. By the way, back on the market real quick here. Last little thought here as we're wrapping up our day. The market was down 1% when we started the day. And now on the intraday on the S&P, we're getting a little backfill. That's why you don't overthink stuff, guys. I mean, I don't know where the markets are going to close here, Mark, but this is normal price action. As you look at the last week, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, finally getting some selling. I'm not saying that's a good chart. Day traders would not be looking to necessarily buy in here. In fact, they might even be looking for a bear retracement play, but it's more important how it closes than how it finishes, which is why we'll be watching the rest of the day and then back here tomorrow. Mark, I got one last job for you. Pitch the pro membership. You're good at it. I'm not. So you
I kind of don't want this to end today. I've been having a fun time with you guys.
Well, we can talk more stocks. I'm with you, but I got work to do too. Yeah.
We have a lot of fun in what we try to do at Tackle Trading. We enjoy our interactions with each other, with our students, with members of the community. Come be part of our community. I mean, it really is that, at the end of the day, that's all I care about. Is the members in our community, them getting the tools that they need to succeed in trading, to succeed in investing, and that they enjoy themselves and feel part of it along the way. Tackle Trading, we had a lot of great products, and I could spend time about all that. Really, it is a place that I call home. I have not even, other than when my brothers drive me crazy on an occasional day, thought about even thought about doing anything else for, in my time I spend, in work, because I enjoy this community. It is, I enjoy the interaction, I enjoy the people, and I know a lot of individuals feel the same way. We get emails all the time that thanking us for being part of the community, for the services we provide. We occasionally, for every email we get that says, hey, that was a great trade setup, we get 5 emails saying, I love this community, this being part of it. And if you're looking for a place to call home, if you're looking for individuals to interact with, if you're looking for, the ton of live content we have in addition to the written and the static, give us a try. Email me at team at Tackle Trading. I'll get you set up on a free trial, or you can go to the store page on Tackle Trading and sign up for that trial. Whether you're an expert trader or whether you're just starting out, no matter what your knowledge level is, we know how to assimilate you and get you material you need to keep you going down the path. So, come join us. Nice thing about community is that, there's no size that we can grow to. The bigger we are, the more individuals we have to help out and with one another. So come join us. We would love to have you.
I love it. And by the way, much of our community is really just about just bonding, getting together, helping each other. You know, obviously we've got experts on education, experts on the markets that are teaching this content. But at the end of the day, I mean, what you're going to get out of the community is what you put into it. You got to put your butt in the seat and be a part of it. Go and use the information and stay risk averse. I mean, that's bottom line. Emily Mururi, my friend.
Hello, guys.
How are you, dear? I just saw your name. I did not want to forget. You've got an event tomorrow that you wanted to promote as well. It's our Women in Trading event. What time is that, and how do people attend and whatnot?
It's tomorrow, Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. They can go on Taco Trading and find the Women in Trading tab and enter the webinar through that. But it's an extension of our Taco Trading community, specifically for the ladies, though, because I've been on this chat for an hour and you guys didn't even notice that I was here. So I was quietly listening in the background.
Well, that's your own fault, Emily.
Which is what, and that goes to why we have our own little webinar on, once a month, and just get the girls together so we can talk about trading and life in general. So it's an extension of what Taco Trading is. So I welcome all the ladies, whether you're new, whether you're an experienced trader or somewhere in between. Come join us tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Sounds great. Fantastic. Always fun to sneak in and, spend 5 minutes peeking in on you guys. No, I never do that. I would never do that, Emily. Have some fun tomorrow with the Women in Trading. It's a very popular webinar that we do each and every month. Great job, Mark. Great job, Emily. Great job, Noah. A lot of fun today. Noah, give me that grunting sound, whatever that was.
No.
Look at that. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Emily's like, on a creepy level.
So creepy.
If you didn't know it was response to a chart, on a 1 to 100 scale, how creepy is that?
I'm going to file, what do you call it, a restraining order on you.
All right.
Immediately.
Well, at least I know where I stand. So,
What was that line out of The Hangover? Can't go within 1,000 yards of an elementary school. My first thought was Scott Curious, by the way. It does sound like Homer from The Simpsons when he likes donuts. So we could go a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah. I hear that.
Yeah. All right, guys. Great job, David. Appreciate
more disgusting Homer Simpson.
I'm putting a stop loss on this. All right. We are done. We'll see you guys tomorrow.